everybody, and welcome once again to another show of Bill Has Opinions, the single highest rated show on YouTube today. I am Laura Lavoie, and I'm here, of course, with Bill Perkins, who has opinions.
Yeah, I've got some opinions for you today, and one of them is that we're giving away a huge prize at the end of the show.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Was it a trip to Disneyland or $1 million or both?
It was both, actually. Yeah, and it's
true.
sponsored by Bill Gates. He
Yes.
was really concerned that we get this money into someone's hands who could use it. So
absolutely. So what you have to do apparently is send us an email with all of your bank account information.
and a SAISY,
Yes.
just to keep it old school.
For sure. Can you send an electronic cease? Is that a possible thing?
Is that a thing?
Is that a thing?
You send your what is that thing called? The like the e-business card. I don't know what it's fucking called. You know, where you know, like if you're in MS Office and you can like attach a thing.
Yeah,
it's like a file that has like all your contact.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What was that called? Oh Lord.
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Now we don't do that anymore because
What
we're
do you bother with that?
enlightened culture. All right. So how are you? What are you up to? We're in it. Wait, check it out. We're in a new space. It's not a permanent space, but it's a very orange space.
Well, I mean, it is orange, but it looks more taupe on the screen.
It does. Well, we'll see. Yeah. It is orange, I promise.
The people at home can let us know what color they think it is.
That's true. Yes. Tell us in the comments.
Cafe au lait or something.
This entire room, what you can't really see, well, you can kind of see in the corner over there. This entire room is kind of Cleveland Browns colors. So it's orange and brown.
Yeah.
That wasn't on purpose.
No, it wasn't because of the Cleveland Browns.
No, if that were the case, we would have painted it Honolulu blue and silvers.
Why do they call it Honolulu blue when they're the Detroit Lions?
You know what? That is a question I should know the answer to, and I'm not sure that I know it.
Well, you just make something up because this is the misinformation.
I always understood it to be a particular shade of blue, and I don't know how it became associated with the Lions, except that if you look at like Lions uniforms over the years, the blue is never the same. Like, it has evolved.
So wait, but they always call it Honolulu?
It's always called Honolulu blue.
Even though it's 7 different shades of blue.
Yeah,
okay.
At one point, like in the 80s, it was a really light blue.
Uh-huh.
And then, like, for a while, it was like a really bright, like, neon blue.
Oh, like,
and then,
like cayenne off the computer.
Yeah, exactly. So, cyan.
How do you pronounce that? I don't know.
That's fine. So, how are you? What's been going on in the life of Bill?
Well, I finally got to that Ren Fair this weekend, so that was fun. And then, I don't know. I guess that's the highlight of my week. Other than that, nothing good.
That was it. Or nothing bad. You can look at it. Is your glass half empty?
There's some mild bad stuff, but in the scheme of things, not terribly bad. Like just bullshit at work, but nothing worth really complaining about, I suppose.
Yeah, that's fair. I hear you.
Yeah. So.
All right. So,
how are you though? I seldom ask the question.
Do you seldom ask the question?
How are you?
How am I?
You usually just move on after you ask how am I.
That is.
And then I always feel bad, like later on. I'm like, oh, I never asked how are you.
Well, first of all, we have information here. According to a Lions Media Guide, the distinctive shade was developed especially for G.A. Richards. Their first owner came up with the color after admiring the hue of the Pacific Ocean on a trip to Hawaii, and the shade was named Honolulu Blue. But so I've got questions because, like I said, that color has changed dramatically over many years. Like if you compare,
so is the shade of the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Hawaii. Probably.
Is that global warming, or does global warming not exist?
I mean, I think global. Well, I don't know if we call it. I think they decided to rebrand it.
I'm sorry, that's right. It's climate
change. Because when you call it global warming, the first time there's a cold snap, everybody's like, I don't know about this global warming because I sure am cold.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
So they had to be specific. Like now it's climate change because is something going on that shouldn't be going on? All right then,
Yeah, that's fair. And we'll get into some of that.
Is where you live supposed to be on fire? No?
No.
Oh, well, then it's probably climate change.
Probably a bad thing.
Yeah.
But no, as far as my week has been, this past week, I have been participating in the annual event National Novel Writing Month.
Oh, that, yeah.
So I have been writing a novel for the last, what's today? 8 days. And I'm at about 19,400 words today.
Wow.
So
that's a lot of words.
Cheers to me.
That's almost as many words as I say in a show.
We should do a transcription one time. It's a lot of words. You have to get to 50,000 by the end of the month. That's the goal.
That's the rule.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. It's like a personal goal. Like, there's no prize at the end. The prize is you have succeeded.
And there's no punishment if you don't do it?
Correct,
okay.
Yes. But, and 50,000 is not a novel. Like, it's not anywhere near a novel. You need a lot more words than that.
Is it a novella?
It would be considered a novella.
Okay.
Great Gatsby was around 50,000 words.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Most of the books that I considered good books when I was in high school were books that I could read fairly quickly.
You're like, I don't have time for this shit.
I don't. Dude, let me tell you how much I hate fucking trilogies. I don't like them. I'm like, you need that many words to tell a fucking story? Like, that's ridiculous. Like,
the hilarious part about that, though, is for most genres today, if you want to be commercially successful, they won't even let you pitch a single book.
No, they make you, if you have a single book and it's got a good original story, they're going to make you like stretch that shit out and make it tedious and boring.
Yes.
Instead of just telling your one good story, which is, I mean, like, think about it though, like fucking To Kill a Mockingbird. Like, how good a fucking story is that? There's no damn, well, I mean, I guess there was a sequel eventually, but for years there was no damn sequel. It was a great standalone story. It did what it needed to do. You got in, you got out, you had a good time. You were like, oh, I learned a thing or two. Poignant, bam, that's a good damn book.
That's it, yes. You get your points, you got it out, yes. No, and I write a genre that is not sequel based. So I write women's fiction, which is like beach reads or book club fiction. So nobody wants to read more than one of them.
They don't make those into trilogies?
They typically do not. Every once in a while you get like a weird series. Like somebody's like, this is the,
It's got to have BDSM to make 3 of it, though.
Yeah, I would argue those are just terrible. Those are fan fiction gone wrong. So let's move on along.
Or gone right for the person who made the money.
That's fair. All right. So what are you drinking tonight?
Oh, I am drinking. Speaking of Michigan.
Oh wait, speaking of Michigan. What? Speaking of Michigan. Oh crap! I've got too much stuff loaded on here. Speaking of Michigan.
I'm drinking Kalamazoo Stout from Bell's.
Nice.
This is in Comstock, Michigan. Why not Kalamazoo?
I know the answer to that question.
Let's make something up, though, because this is a misinformation show.
Well, Comstock is where
it's another name for Kalamazoo.
Sure. That's another name for Kalamazoo.
That's what they called it.
Well, funny enough, I am also drinking a Michigan beer. I've got the Founders Porter. So 'tis the season of stouts and porters.
Yeah.
La 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 la.
Plus to go with this brown room we're in.
Also that, but because before the show, we each had different porters. Yeah, I think I had a mocha stout, which I did not have the bottle for, and then I think I had a Bell's Porter.
And I had a Bell's Porter. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, which I did keep the cap for, by the way, which I want to talk about for just a brief second. Look at that. Isn't that the prettiest bottle cap you ever saw?
That is a lovely bottle cap right there.
I mean, if you like shades of brown.
I do. As it turns out, I do. Because of the room we are currently sitting in, it is shades of brown. So, yes. And yes, Jay, you should be drinking.
Yeah, you should totally have like a Highland Mocha Stout.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
Yes, you should. All right. We got off track a little bit. So, this show is all about misinformation. So we are here to tell you a bunch of lies. Is this 2 truths and a lie?
Or 2 lies and the truth?
2 lies and the truth. I don't know. Is this just regular discourse?
We're just going to talk about it and we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
you can believe what you want at the end, I suppose. People do anyway.
That's true. All right, so you brought this one to my attention a while ago. Funny enough, we originally had planned tonight 90s music.
Oh, wow.
We're pushing that off till next year.
We got a little more serious, didn't we?
Yeah, we got a little more serious because you said to me, we need to do a show on misinformation because, boy, I got a shit ton to say about that.
Oh, God, yeah. And the thing that got me worked up was in recent months. So, first off, I'm on this forum on Facebook called Bird Misidentification Forum. And it's mostly because, like, people will post these, like, news stories or people will just post, like, pictures on social media and they'll say, hey, check out the cormorant I saw in my yard, and it'll not be a cormorant. It'll be like, it'll be a seagull, or, something completely, like, obviously fucking different. Like, sometimes they'll be like, check out this red-tailed hawk, and it's like a picture of a sparrow, or a cardinal or something, So
do people do it on purpose though? Like it's a funny satire site?
It's hard. That's
we'll get into.
That line is becoming more blurred.
That is true.
But so here's the thing that popped up on the bird misidentification forum and also elsewhere, but they keep reposting it. There's this new group going around called Birds Aren't Real. And they've got a website called birdsaren'treal.com. And they say birds were killed off like 20 years ago. And all the birds that you see now are government drones that are spying on you. And from a standpoint of satire, yeah, that's funny as fuck, I suppose.
Sure.
However, in the current environment we live in, I realized hearing this, I'm like, Jesus Christ, here's the thing. It's funny, yes, but 10 years from now, I'll be arguing with some chuckle fuck on the internet about birds, and I won't be able to convince this motherfucker that they're actual goddamn birds.
Yeah, no.
Because this shit will become, like, honest to God canon in this guy's head, because people will say something. This is what happens. Is you say something stupid long enough, and people just start going, yeah, that's feasible. Fuck, why not? Because birds aren't real. Well, I mean, a drone ain't going to come shit all over your goddamn new convertible. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I kind of wish they were government drones, right? Like,
yeah.
Jeez.
But anyway, so that whole thing is like I find it simultaneously funny and infuriating because, like I said, because I realize where this is going. I think the flat Earth thing started off being funny, and then a certain element got a hold of it, and it stopped being funny because now they're just like, no, the Earth is fucking flat, and it's like, all right,
Yeah, no. In fact, I can't remember what it's called. I think it was on HBO, a flat Earth documentary, and it is entertaining and heartbreaking to watch because you can tell. First of all, the documentarians obviously do not believe any of this, so that's fine. But you can also tell that the seeds of this information, the people that started it also did not believe it. And it's very clearly someone trolling. And now there are countless people all around the globe, no pun intended, who literally believe that the Earth is flat. And they have proof and they have all these things. Like, there was one person that flew. Like, her whole thing was she flew and tried to balance like a pencil on her tray table. If the Earth is curved, the tray, it won't balance. I'm like, that's not how flying works. Like, it's just not.
That's dumb
and people,
as shit.
People in like outside of Seattle setting up cameras like across the straits there. To see it like with a laser. So like they want to try to see where the laser hits on the other side of the straits. Because if it's straight across, then they prove that the Earth has no curvature.
Well, how far is this?
Not very, but it's still not straight across. They never managed to prove it because it still was off by like.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
because I guess there's even minutia of differences from a small point, but I know like what the curve is at like 6 miles out or something like near the ocean or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
like that's where the horizon is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was at least that.
People are dumb as shit, and ultimately, I guess the thing is people believe what they want to believe,
right?
And they'll I don't know, like but once they get into this stuff, and I get the onus for the birds aren't real and the flat Earth thing because I mean, growing up, I was a big devil's advocate too. Like I have definitely played devil's advocate on the whole moon landing was fake thing. And only to the extent of I'm willing to accept the idea that the moon landing could be fake. Like that, or that honest to God, here's the thing, here's what I believe. I believe that perception is sometimes reality.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have a different reality.
That's
right?
very true, yes.
Okay. And so to that degree, and that was just to say, like, and I used to make this argument with people, like, you tell me Kennedy was shot, I take your word for it. I wasn't there. Didn't happen to me. How the fuck should I know? You know?
but I think in many ways we've taken, like, as a culture, not as individuals, but as a culture, have taken that to ridiculous levels.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Like, that being said, I believe Kennedy was shot. I believe that the moon was landed on by human beings. But I have the kind of open-mindedness where I can accept the idea that maybe it didn't happen. And if I were given actual proof, I would change my beliefs because that's the way I work, right? Like, I don't hold fast to ideas just because they make me feel comfortable. Like, if suddenly fucking, you know, Bigfoot walked out of the forest and shook me and said, "Hey, I'm real," I'd be like, "All right, then you are," you know?
Well, right. And we've had comments, like, we did our cryptid episode, right? And we left it open to the possibility that cryptids could exist.
I like the idea, but I don't really believe it. Is what I say. I'm like a cryptid agnostic, right?
Right, and same with ghosts.
And
right?
I'm an everything agnostic, to be honest with you. Like, until I'm proven otherwise, like I don't believe in anything, but I'm open to the possibility that things exist if they show themselves to me.
Right.
And ergo, any of this stuff, like if you bring me enough fucking proof, and I don't mean YouTube videos.
Right. We're not doing our own research here.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, real honest to God proof. Like if I had some fucking NASA scientists come to me,
peer-reviewed journals,
like with a goddamn manila file folder full of documents that showed me that the moon landing was fake, I'd be like, well, fuck, I guess I gotta change the way I feel about that. But until that point, I'm gonna think what I fucking think, right? Like,
right, that birds are in fact real.
I have been pooped on by birds.
Yes,
So
yes.
And I have fed birds, and I just threw a dead bird off of my terrace because one had hit the window.
Well,
and it was not a drone, it was a dead bird. So,
right? Like the cats next door do not eat government drones.
They do not.
They are definitely not eating government drones, I promise you that.
They're eating songbirds.
They're eating birds.
That's the whole thing.
So, yes. All right, let us do a real quick, let's see, who do we want to plug today? Because we do that, right?
Yeah.
Shall we? Let's talk about, here's one. This is not misinformation, folks. This is real. Pet massage is good for your dogs. So just because it's a misinformation show doesn't mean you should dismiss this. Because if you're in Southeast Michigan and you want to get your dogs pampered, go to Radiant Paws Pet Massage because she's our friend, and those are the only people that we plug on our show.
But I mean, if you're not our friend and you'd like us to plug, you feel free to reach out.
Do that. Yes, email us, send us your bank account and an SASE. So that we can send you back a message to let you know that this is in fact what we're going to do. So, yay, Radiant Paws. Radiant Paws is my favorite.
Yeah, but
that's also because Jill is one of my favorite humans.
I will say, though, that dogs aren't real.
Dogs are clearly not real.
They're made up.
Yeah.
Actually, you want to talk about some... Actually, I do believe in dogs.
I mean, you have a couple.
I'm not dognostic, but I wanted to say I don't believe that all dogs go to heaven because some dogs are assholes.
That's fair.
All right, that's the misinformation. Is all dogs go to heaven? No, they don't.
They do not. In spite of what Don Bluth wants you to believe,
some dogs do go to dog hell.
Because well, so there's a question. Do you believe? So that's beyond misinformation. Do you believe in heaven or hell? That's a whole other show right there, folks.
Theology. That's
another
show.
Okay. All right. So I did a little research before. That's fair. Wherever dogs go is where I want to go. That's That's a reason.
You don't want to go where the bad dogs are, though.
No. Well, I mean, that depends. Like, I would want to go where all the cats are, and I know none of the cats are going to heaven.
Oh, that's true, but I'm saying the bad dogs, like, if you go to bad dog hell, you're just going to be constant. First off, you're going to have to walk through an entire room of dog shit.
Well, that's people hell, though. That's not dog hell. The dogs are fine.
The dogs don't care.
The dogs don't care about that. Yes, exactly. You are correct. Bad dogs are fun. Just like bad humans are often the fun ones. That's fair. All right.
Okay.
So in doing a research for this episode, I came across a kind of...
Did you do your own research?
I did my own research. I consulted Joe Rogan, and I have come to my own conclusions.
How about that Jordan Peterson? Did you check him out?
Yeah, what's the other guy that yells a lot? Alex something?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, yeah. No, I would have a hard time listening to him because all he does is yell at me. Like, I don't know why I would want to listen to somebody that all they're doing is yelling at me. I would just want to turn them off.
There must be a certain thrill in getting worked up about things, I believe.
But it seems to be only a thrill that he has.
No, I mean, well, somebody likes it because he gets viewership, obviously.
That's fair. That's fair.
So,
all right, but I did some basic research, which
some basic research.
Yeah, involved me going to a couple websites.
Well, hold on. Do I need to put on the tinfoil hat before you start?
Oh, we should.
I don't want you to think we should have made those.
We should have made those. All right. So there's millions of types of misinformation, right?
Okay.
Of course, like anything, any individual piece of misinformation is some type of misinformation,
right?
Of course. But when I was doing some research, there are 5 common categories.
Okay.
And I found them very interesting because number 1,
if that's what you want to believe.
Yeah. Number 1 is actually satire, which I want to get into later. But I find it very interesting that it's listed among misinformation. Because to me, it's a whole other category, but we'll talk about that in a second.
I know what they're getting at, and we'll get back around to that.
We will. And then false context. So taking a piece of information that may in fact be true, and then placing it into a circumstance where it doesn't necessarily apply.
I got you.
Imposter content, which means content you think is one thing, but it really isn't proving that particular point. It's its own, it's an imposter. It doesn't do that. Manipulated content, which I think we can all agree is things like the company formerly known as Facebook. Hopefully we don't get kicked off of Facebook for saying that. Manipulated. I mean, we all know that Facebook and its environs manipulated content.
Sure.
for the last 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, and on one hand, okay, and I'm not trying to give them an off on this whole thing, but I am going to say that even as people, all the content on Facebook is curated, right?
Sure.
Like even my Facebook feed per se, right?
Yes.
Like I let you see the parts of my life I want you to see.
Yes.
I'm not gonna air my drama. I'm not gonna say, oh, you know what? I had dinner today and it was absolute dog shit. You know.
Right.
I'm only gonna say like what's good, and that gives people a false idea of what my life is, right? And so. But then Facebook takes that and kind of runs with it.
Well, right, and then you've got the whole other category of the fact that Facebook, what they're doing is data mining, and we are their labor for that, right? So the content that we see is purely based on the algorithms that we generate. So that's why some people only see things that only apply to their very specific worldview. It's because it's been curated by Facebook.
Well,
it's been the algorithms.
And to get back to go back to Alex Jones for a minute, the thing Facebook has sorted out is that outrage causes more clicks.
Yes.
And so that's the same thing as Alex Jones. Like the reason he's like screaming is people like that generates it. And I'll say this is I want to segue for a moment. This is a type of misinformation that's not on your list. But it is in your fucking head, and that's called confirmation bias.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And that is that you have a certain worldview, and you tend to respond to things that cue into your worldview, right?
Yes.
And so to that effect, you can see a news story that plays into your worldview, and if it ever outrages you, you have a tendency to react to it.
And you'll even share it.
You'll share it. You'll hit share, and you'll start like, I can't believe this nonsense. Can you believe this nonsense? And you haven't even stopped to go, hey, wait a sec. Is this real?
Exactly.
And that's a thing I think we have to back up and learn to do is like, and I've kind of like, I'll say I was guilty of this, especially in the early days of the Trump administration, because it seemed like no story was too preposterous for that fool. But I did get finally to the point where I realized sometimes, like a time or two, I maybe had premature outrage, I call it.
Sure.
And then realize, oh, this is a Sac B or Onion article that I'm responding to.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Or
yes.
I mean, maybe it wasn't even that, but it's sometimes it was actually political players wanting you to have a reaction to something.
Correct. Like, for instance, let's bring up a very timely example of this, that Ted Cruz wants you to be really, really angry at Big Bird right now.
Right.
Yeah. So Big Bird, being 6 years old, apparently immortally 6 years old, he's a bird. He only just now qualified to get the COVID vaccine because he's 6.
Okay.
He's 6, so he can get it now.
Is it the COVID vaccine or the Corvid vaccine? Since he's a bird.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That joke just walked right.
I mean, I would think he'd be more concerned about bird flu.
Well, here's the other issue: is that clearly Big Bird isn't real. He's just a government drone, which then plays into.
That's the world's biggest. He's got 5G, right?
Totally, he is the 5G. That's what he's the tower. But
that's what everybody on Sesame Street calls him. Like, what up, 5G?
Hey, 5G. But Ted Cruz is angry because Big Bird is now tweeting government propaganda, which I find exceedingly interesting, considering Ted Cruz is part of
the government. Right. You know, here's another funny thing I think with the whole Ted Cruz thing is like, I saw this earlier today, and I was like, my response to this was, oh, so let me guess, Ted Cruz.
Oh, we've been called out for bad puns.
Ted Cruz is not probably not going to get his children vaccinated, I'm guessing, right?
One would assume.
Because he's so against vaccines. Ted Cruz hasn't been vaccinated, right?
Of course he has.
Right. That's what I'm getting at is, like, so, and, you know, here's the funniest thing about this whole fucking vaccine thing to me, okay? What's the fucking end game? I mean, I understand the idea of polarizing people to get votes, but the problem here is if you pit the people who are your supporters against vaccines, what's the fucking end game?
Right. Yeah. That's
who dies?
Exactly.
It ain't the libs. You're not owning the libs by I'm gonna fucking croak to own the libs. Well, that's one less fucking Republican voter. Good riddance, I say. You know, which I have said earlier on other episodes.
That
but,
is
you know,
also true.
But I'm like that. That's one of those things where I'm like, I don't understand. Like, this is the dumbest thing on earth. It's like, it's a silly goddamn have you tried doing the thing where you move the chess piece 2 more spaces in your head? Because I don't think you have.
That is fair. And so the fifth and final type of misinformation, again, like we said, like every individual microscopic version, it has its own thing, but is fabricated content, which is just flat out, this shit is bullshit, but we're going to talk about it anyway, apparently. Like, those are the things we all like to think that those are the things we can get.
That's the obvious. Okay.
It's the low hanging.
That's like the Bat Boy.
Sure, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's bullshit. That's clearly bullshit.
There's no Bat Boy.
And yeah.
Sorry if you thought there was a Bat Boy.
Right. But
I'm here there's no Santa Claus either.
Sorry, children watching the show. Honestly,
what are you doing watching this show?
Yeah, why are you watching this show? This is not a show for you.
It's
Go back to bed. Like, what is it? It's 7:30 at night, peeps. Just don't let your children watch this show.
I can just imagine there's some kid out there like, you know, my favorite show was this one where these people drink beer and talk. about shit that happened way before I was born.
That's fair. So I think some of the most the most interesting things, fabricated again, we think as enlightened individuals. Obviously, there are people that fall for it, or it wouldn't exist. Right?
I guess I always felt like the Inquirer or whatever, or Weekly World News, that people were reading that shit and they knew
as entertainment.
Yeah, I thought you read it as entertainment, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know that everybody did. I certainly did, but I had a Weekly World News cover on my wall as a teenager. That was it was it's clearly early photoshopped image, because this was the 90s.
Sure.
Of like a geyser or some sort of smoke plume, and it had a face in it. And the actual title was Satan Escapes from Hell. And I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life. So I had it hanging on my bedroom wall for a long time.
You know what my favorite one of all time was the one with Bill Clinton shaking hands with the aliens. You remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had another one.
You made a deal with them or something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I had another one that was a cover of Weekly World News, I think, is... they were a proto-onion. I think they knew exactly what they were doing. And I had another one. This was after I was already on the internet, so I had it as my little profile picture on LiveJournal. I was on LiveJournal. But it was something about life found on Mars, but the picture were of hairless cats. And it was the cutest thing, because there were all these little hairless cats, and it was we found life on Mars. And I'm like, no, those are hairless cats. I know that because I have one, and it's not a Martian. Wow. So yes, and that brings us all the way back around to satire.
Right. Yeah.
So satire has been a thing for all of human history.
I mean, if we're to believe our English teacher, it's the smartest type of humor.
I do believe my English teacher.
Do you? Okay. They always make it. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Dave Barry or somebody said satire is a word English teachers use for shit that's not remotely funny.
That's probably true.
Because they make you read Jonathan Swift, which was not fucking funny.
A modest proposal, right? Which is kind of the lesson of satire, right? That's why that's the one that's used. He wrote this thing that said the cure for the Irish potato famine is to eat your children.
Yeah.
And it was written completely straight. Clearly the solution. And people in the day, at the time, lost their fucking minds. Because they're we're not eating our children? Come on. Of course you're not eating your children.
He's yeah, that's the joke, right? To post the old Simpsons meme. That's the joke. That's the joke, right? I can't remember. It was the Arnold Schwarzenegger character on Simpsons.
Yes.
Anyway.
But that is, and I think even today, I think we were talking about, the birds aren't real and the flat earthers, and I will lump QAnon into that. These are things, somebody...
Yeah, somebody thought it was funny.
They thought they were going to troll some people.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know. Like I said, I don't know that the flat Earth thing would even started as a troll as much as it's maybe started as somebody being like I said, it's just kind of tongue-in-cheek devil's advocate bullshit, and you think it's funny, and it's only funny until. And this is the thing. You know what's funny? I remember. This is going to be a weird segue, but it is related. But I remember being in a class at the Methodist Church being told about Satanism.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fair.
And this was, of course, during the satanic panic of the, of the
80s and 90s. Yes, for sure.
So I'm sitting there and they're telling me some stuff. And one of the things they were talking about, I remember they said they were showing us satanic symbols. And one of the symbols was the dead Kennedy symbol. And I said, why is the dead Kennedy symbol a satanic symbol?
Right, it's literally just a D and a K.
And I asked about this. I was like, excuse me, I'm sorry. Because I'm always the kind of person who's going to call bullshit when I see it, right?
Right.
So I'm sitting in this thing, and I'm taking it with a grain of salt. But I was like, I'm sorry, I got to speak up. This looks like horse shit to me. And honestly, this is the funny part. The person giving this seminar was this 80-year-old old woman, right?
Of course.
And I'm like, what the fuck does she know about Satan? Like, unless she's a goddamn like reformed witch, the fuck does she know about anything? So she's read some horse shit, and she's gonna come in here and tell us about Satanism. So she's telling us about Satanism. She's got all the symbols of Satanism, and it's like the anarchy sign, and the peace sign,
right.
blah blah blah, and the
right.
dead Kennedys sign.
Right.
And I said, I'm sorry, the dead Kennedys. Like, I'm gonna have to call your bluff on this one. Explain that one to me. And she goes, well, the dead Kennedys, and I'll say this: at least she knew a couple of dead Kennedys songs, which I was like, well, impressive. So she says, well, they got a song called "Kill the Poor." And I said, well, yeah, they do have a song called "Kill the Poor." It's a parody. I mean, it's satire. It's like Jonathan Swift, right?
Right.
It's saying, since the poor are such a fucking problem that we can't provide welfare or anything else for them, like, because that's Reaganomics for you. This was a response to Reagan. I mean, most of the Dead Kennedys is a response to Reagan.
Right.
That's most 80s punk rock for you.
Right.
So they're saying, well, if the poor are such a fucking problem, why don't we just kill them? Now, they're not actually advocating killing the poor.
Like Jonathan Swift, yes,
right.
Exactly.
And the lady says to me with a fucking straight face, she goes, well, everybody's not smart enough to understand satire.
How is that my problem? That's my question. That's always been my question.
And that, my friends, is why the Dead Kennedys is satanic.
Yeah.
Because everybody's not smart enough to understand satire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least she had the yeah.
She listened to "Kill the Poor." She listened.
She knew there was.
She had at least listened to one fucking Dead Kennedy song.
Yeah.
Which I got to give her credit for. Kudos to you, old lady, who's now dead, I'm sure.
I'm gonna hope.
Unless she was a real witch.
Oh yeah.
If she was a witch, then now she must have.
Although there's misinformation for you.
Wouldn't that be the classic con? Is if you were an actual honest to God witch and you went around to Methodist churches telling the youth groups how to spot Satanism, and you just gave them a bunch of fucking red herrings.
Right, exactly. And you're like, yeah, all these things are Satanists. Like, those are the things. And
that's exactly what the devil would do.
And we have talked in the future. I think we're going to do a whole.
The smartest thing the devil ever did was make people believe he didn't exist.
That's what I hear. I hear that. But in the future, we've talked about doing a whole Satanic Panic episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we will get to that because as Generation X, as children of the 80s and 90s.
And the corn.
Yes, also that, and of a lesser god, all of the things that children are, that we have a little bit of insight on that, I think. So in the future, tune in. I don't know when we'll do it. It makes sense to do it in October next year, but that seems like far away. So
that does seem
seems like we should
awful long time away. We might pick another. We might pick any other one of the. Witches' holidays.
Maybe we'll do it for Impulse.
It does. Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't have to be
sewing,
does it?
No,
I mean, there are other. There's a whole damn calendar.
I think. Yeah, no, I think actually Impulse would be a fun. That's February. So
okay,
that's a fine time.
All right. Well, if we don't get to it by that, we'll do it at Lunasa, right?
Or Beltane. We might bust it out at Beltane.
All right.
So, no, don't. I know. I've often thought about doing a show on witches because I'm personally pagan, although I'm not a witch. But I know a lot of shit.
Okay.
Because I did the whole thing. I did the whole Wicca thing.
You took the course.
I did. I totally did. I took a lot of courses,
All right.
to be honest. All right. So, we still have more show. Let's see what we've got here. So, of course, among the things that we are being misinformed about, and we could really go down a rabbit hole here, folks. Like we could no holds barred, have no mercy, go down a lot of rabbit holes. So let's start with this one. Let's start with elections, because I think everybody agrees, no matter what side you're on.
They're obviously stolen, for one thing.
Obviously.
Which
I think is very interesting, because the actual statistics have shown the ones that are stolen, the ones that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
We have legit statistics about that.
Right.
But it appears that the ones that are stolen are the ones that are not in the favor of the conservatives, and the ones that aren't stolen are the ones that are in the favor of the conservatives.
Here's the thing I can't figure out. So the exact same election where a president that these people don't like got in, a great many state governments and local governments and House members got elected
Sure.
in the same fucking election. So so these dastardly liberals came in and stole a presidential election, but said, "Yo, you know what would be really clever is if we let some dumb fuck get elected as a Georgia House member, right?"
You passed me the.
Oh, that's what you're pointing at.
Yes,
okay.
Would you like some porter?
Oh, I'm good. I've had plenty of beer now.
I have not.
But
I live in this house, so
yeah,
I don't
you don't have to go
drive
anywhere.
anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have more.
But what I'm saying is, like, isn't that crazy? Like, who would be like, oh, you know what would just be the best? This would be the cherry on top of the pie right here. Is for us to steal the presidency, but give them 2 or 3 House members who are crazy as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Let them take that shit, right? Because that's what we want. So if your conjecture is that the election was stolen, then let's recount. But let's not just recount the presidential election. Let's recount all them fucking elections.
Right, exactly, because that's what we haven't done.
Right?
Right.
Because I'm like, the same states that you claim that were stolen, you picked up a House seat or something in.
Yeah.
So let's examine that.
So we've recounted a bunch of states, and
Sure.
they've
all come back more for Biden every time.
So my favorite tactic, the most recent one, was let's recount Texas. Texas went for the Republicans.
Uh-huh.
They went for Trump. They want to recount it. All they're trying to do now is so
Okay. Just make people
distrust.
Oh,
They're sowing distrust.
This is another one of those I don't understand the end game things because they did this actually. I think in Georgia, the Senate runoff was after the presidential election.
Yeah.
And the Republicans sowed this kind of dissent of, well, elections can't be trusted, so let's just stay the fuck home. And then what happened?
Right, Georgia went for the first time. I mean, I gratefully and happily voted in the runoff in that time. But it went Democrat both seats. So there's 2 senators now. It's historic.
Right. So again, what's your fucking end game? If you make people not believe, you're making your people believe elections are horse shit. Who's going to turn out to vote?
Right.
The other people. And then what's going to happen? Those people will hold power.
Yeah.
This is the dumbest fucking strategy I've ever heard of in my life. If the only end game here is civil war, I assume. But here's the thing about that. Like, I think you overestimate your hand in that whole deal too. Like, I think so many people, because people on the right are the kinds of folks who take Facebook photos of them and their family brandishing weapons. They believe that they're the only ones who have these weapons.
Right.
I have a great many friends who are on the left, okay? And they don't call themselves liberals, okay?
Right.
They call themselves leftists. And they own weapons. And they own automatic weapons, okay? Because they are not liberals, they are leftists. And I want the right to understand this. That the left is maybe not equally armed, but they're armed, okay? There are people on the left.
Right, because if it's a 2A right, if it's the Second Amendment right, we all have it.
We all have it. There are. I want you to understand. There are Islamic people. There are Black people. There are Hispanic people who own weapons. And this thing is not the fucking shoe-in you think it is.
Right.
If you think that there's going to be a civil war and like the next day you're going to claim victory, no, a great many fucking stupid white people will die. A great many stupid white people already have died, and a single bullet has not been fired.
That's
because
true.
They chose to fucking cough themselves to death instead. I'm just saying, people believe a lot of dumb shit, and that's one of the dumb shit things people believe.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. All right, so like, for example, during the previous presidency, we had a very specific war on misinformation that was apparently aimed at driving more misinformation than stopping it. So it was what the fearless leader would refer to as fake news.
Oh, okay.
That's fake news.
So that any news that wasn't favorable was fake.
Correct. If it was not favorable to him, his party, or anyone involved, it was fake news.
Right.
Which, of course, not all, like, just by statistics, not all of it can be fake. Like, sure, maybe some, but not all of it. Like, it can't be. And then that gave rise to a phrase called alternative facts.
Yeah, which is the stupidest fucking thing ever.
Yeah, you can't have an alternative fact. A
fact
is a fucking fact.
Exactly. We're on the same page with that.
Completely. Like
Jinx, you owe me a fucking soda.
Well, I gave you some beers tonight.
That's fair.
Does that count?
That counts. It's better than soda. But
true fact right there. That's not
alternative. That's a true fact.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's not alternative at all.
But yeah, no, the alternative facts were just a stupid person's way of saying, I don't agree with what the real facts are, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Which actually, I want to take this back around for a second and talk about what the popularity of conspiracy theories is. I actually think conspiracy theories are popular because they let stupid people feel smart.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Yeah.
The whole deal is, I know something you don't know. Like, you may know a great many things. I know you know vocabulary words that I can only fathom the meaning of. And I know that you can probably do mathematical equations that I don't get. But here's the thing I know that you don't know. And it's some cockamamie bullshit that I read on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what the popularity of it is. And I'll say this, and this is, I may have stated this at some point in the past on one of our shows, but the reason I don't believe in conspiracy theories, and I used to, back in my old days of devil's advocate, I'll be open-minded to any fucking thing. I would be like, I'm willing to fathom, especially like, the Kennedy assassination or whatever. I probably bought into a couple of conspiracy theories.
Sure.
But this is what happened. I started working in corporate America, right? I worked for a large corporate bank for a few years. It was a Fortune 500 company. And when you work in a large corporation, you will learn that if two or more people are involved in a thing, A, they will fuck it up.
No, that's true.
B, someone will want credit for that.
That is also true.
And so for two or more people to be involved in an assassination or, I don't know, manipulating some kind of fucking important thing like UFOs or something like that, like, I don't buy it. That's nonsense, because the person involved is going to want credit. They're going to be like, it was me. I did the thing. Everybody look at me. I did it. Or, like I said, they'll just fuck the whole thing up in the first place,
Right. Yeah,
so,
that's absolutely true.
Which is more likely, to be honest, because that's the human condition.
Well, and right, so the current poster child for conspiracy theories, I mean, we can't go this whole show without mentioning it, is QAnon, right?
Yeah.
Like, QAnon is a problem. Let's just call it out, right?
I haven't liked that guy since the Bill and Ted movies.
Yeah, it's a problem. I mean, I was a fan during Star Trek, but...
Wait. We're talking about two different people. I'm talking about QAnon Reeves.
QAnon Reeves. Man, I'm a fan of QAnon Reeves.
No, I actually like that guy. He seems like
a wholesome man.
He's a wholesome dude.
He seems
wholesome.
Sorry. So, all right. So, yes. But, the thing I heard this past week, and I was, just shaking my head, and there were people that honestly believed this, that one of the things that was going to happen was there was some sort of event, and people needed to go to it because
was it not the anniversary of the Kennedy assassination or something like that?
Was it? Because the thing that was going to happen was John F. Kennedy Jr. was going to return.
But it was at Dealey Plaza in Dallas.
Oh yes, for sure. And then to take his rightful place as Trump's vice president when Trump got reinstated.
I don't even understand this.
None of this makes sense.
First off, why one of the most liberal presidents on Earth's sun would appear and anoint this guy.
Yeah, like I don't even know. First of all, why would you want him to? Like, why is that your savior? Like, for some reason, JFK Jr. is your man. Like,
You know but you know what was great was I was reading the whole thing, and the people, like, because they were being like asked about it, the people who were there, like, what happened? Did somebody show up? And they were like, oh, well, okay, so I didn't see JFK Jr., but I did, like they said, I did see Robin Williams, and I saw
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. No, it was Dale Earnhardt, not Dale
Oh,
Earnhardt.
sorry, Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt
Yeah.
Jr. is alive. So
yeah, that's true. That's fair. You
But-
would
but
see
Dale-
him. You might see him.
you might see him, although you probably wouldn't. But then, like, got me thinking about some other people who might have also showed up in this thing, and I was like, what? How about Florence Henderson and maybe like Waylon Flowers and Madam?
Yeah, somebody messages this to me, and I'm like, do they not know that Madam is a puppet?
And I'm like, no, they absolutely don't. They think she's a real person.
They literally do not. That is exactly the topic. Oh man, I remember I used to watch the show, the Madam show. I distinctly remember. I don't know why I watched it. I don't even know what channel it was on. But I was like a tween, and I would make myself sandwiches on bagels, and I would sit and watch it every day. Like
There
during
was
the
just
summer.
a show that was just Waylon
Just Madam.
and Madam.
It was Madam's
It
show.
was just Madam by herself.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, like she was.
Because
the main
I
character.
remember her as a fixture on Solid Gold back in the
Sure,
day.
yeah, no, this was her own show. She
Oh
had her
wow,
own show.
crazy!
Yeah,
I
like,
did not know she had her own show. I'm
Google that.
gonna have to look it up on YouTube.
Because it may or may not be misinformation, or it may, just real quick, it could be the Mandela effect, which is a whole different kind of misinformation.
That's right.
But apparently a collective misinformation that we just have these weird ideas.
It's a misinformation that we've all collectively told ourselves.
Right, so obviously the most famous examples are the Berenstain Bears.
Well, the one it's named after, maybe.
Well, yes, the Mandela effect. Right, in the 80s, like everybody believed that Mandela had died.
Yeah.
And
then he died again.
he
And everybody was
literally
like,
didn't
what?
die. Well, it was even before he was president. So he
Oh,
was,
they thought he died in jail?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then he became president of South
Well, he
Africa.
was-
Clearly he didn't die.
Probably replaced with a drone or
Yeah, government drone. Yeah, for sure.
something.
But then, and then the Berenstain Bears, because the memory is.
I'm fairly certain they were called the Beerstein Bears. That's what I remember.
Right. And then, of course, one of the other most popular ones was the comedian Sinbad in a movie called Shazam. And, like, everybody, especially our generation, has this collective knowledge that this actually happened.
I don't
It
actually
never
remember.
did.
I don't remember that one. The Berenstain Bears one I remember, but I don't remember the. No, the.
I remember the Sinbad one.
I don't remember the Sinbad thing at all.
Yeah.
If you want to get into a conspiracy about Sinbad, what the fuck happened to that guy? Like he was like on top of the fucking world for a couple of years. Like he was on like a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then poof, you never heard of fucking Sinbad again. Like what is he doing now? I mean, I actually remember when this whole thing came out. He said, "If you guys want to make that movie,
Yeah.
I am down. Like I would love to be in that movie."
Because I haven't had a career since the early 90s.
Right?
So
Like
sure.
yeah.
Let's
Since
do
Different
that.
World went off, I haven't done a thing.
There's actually, and we've talked about this before, the X-Files, in the reboot, or the regen X-Files, when they kind of came back a few years ago and they did some new episodes.
Oh yeah.
And the one guy, we've talked about this before, the guy that did all the funny and quirky episodes, I can't remember his name now.
Oh
I did during that show, now I can't remember.
yeah.
But he made all the funny, quirky episodes, like all of them. But he did one in the reboot. There were only 2 seasons of that, and and both of them were really good. But one of them was basically the Mandela effect, and they had it's a famous comedian, and you'd recognize him. And I wasn't prepared to tell this. I can't remember who it was, but it's a guy you would recognize. Like you would see him and be, that's a guy. In this episode, like this guy was apparently on every single early X-Files case.
Oh.
And they actually do, like, they refilm some of the, like, the iconic scenes.
Oh, yeah?
Like the home scene where they find the mother under the bed and this guy's there. And it's so freaking hilarious. It's hilarious and it's worth watching. Like, if you don't, and you don't need to, if you're a fan of the X-Files, you don't need to sully or scully its image by watching all of the new episodes.
Sully its image.
Yeah. But 2 episodes you should watch are the 2 by this one guy. And one is this Mandela effect.
You did tell me that because I told you that my favorite episodes were.
They are mine too. I mean,
Jose Young's from Outer Space and
the one with the vampire guy.
Owen Wilson was in it.
Yeah, Owen Wilson.
Not Owen. It was Luke Wilson.
Sorry, Luke Wilson.
Yeah, it was told from different perspectives.
Yeah,
and things were different. Like
he was like sexy vampire in one. He was just bumbling detective in the other.
Yeah.
It's funny as fuck. Those are great episodes. So if you never watch any of the new ones, I think you don't. But these 2 from the 2 seasons, one was the Mandela Effect, and another one was just really funny.
Darren something, wasn't it?
Yes, that sounds right.
I can't remember what
Either way,
yeah,
we talked about it before.
He didn't write this one, but they wrote this episode for him. He was the guy with the tail in Small Potatoes because they were trying to write an episode like something he would write.
Yes.
But I also liked that episode because they were
because they were doing it on her.
Oh, and also I think he wrote the great Mutado.
Yes.
Which was another one of my favorite episodes.
Because they were quirky and funny and like standalone most of the time.
Yeah, they were really good episodes.
They were good episodes. The Mandela Effect episode is worth watching.
I need to watch it then.
You really should because it's funny as fuck.
Okay.
All right, we're coming on the end of the episode. I forgot to ask before the show. Yeah, we didn't get to any of this.
Oh man.
But I meant to ask before we started. Do we have things that are extra today?
Oh, well, I totally don't. So
all right,
we can just
nothing is extra.
Talk about what we have left in the next 3 minutes.
All right. Well, one of the things, of course, is science deniers and climate change deniers. Those are fun.
I mean, well, the only thing there. I mean, again, I always ask to what end. I do this because that's actually something Batman asks as the world's greatest detective. When he's trying to solve a crime, he says, to what end? Who benefits? And that's it will lead you back to your lead.
Well, you know what benefits in climate change is big business.
Sure, because
the ones who don't have to pay for
we're going to make a lot of profit in the meantime. Boy, the end of the world sure did suck, but for a couple of years there were some real good profit margins.
Our profits were great.
So yeah, that's what happens there.
We all burned alive, but we made the profits.
We had the profits in the meantime.
Yay.
And that's what that's all about.
Oh, and the other one we wanted to mention, so I mentioned this to Bill the other day, and because it's the whole pushback against critical race theory,
which no one understands. Nobody.
Right.
No, this is the funny part: is you can ask people what is critical race theory, and they'll say, "I have no idea." I actually read a funny thing. Trevor Noah said this. He said, "If you got to give it up to the Republicans for their marketing." He says, because a year ago, if you'd asked people what's critical race theory, they just said, I had no idea. And if you say now, what's critical race theory? They'd say, I have no idea, but I'm scared to death of it.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly correct. And so Bill mentioned to me, he's like, well, but it's kind of a non-issue because nobody's teaching it.
Nobody's teaching it.
Right?
It's already not a thing.
I would like to point out that might be part of our problem.
Yeah.
If we were learning this shit, like, because this shit is
because speaking of misinformation, I grew up in South Carolina, okay?
You were taught white people were the best.
I was taught white people were the best. Slaves were happy. They were treated so nice.
Frolicking in the fields.
Oh my God. I mean, they came up with so many good songs back then.
Oh,
you know, they were just always singing them spirituals and whatnot.
Yeah, it's good
stuff. They loved it. Yeah. They loved it. They were taken care of. They had they gave them 3 squares a day in a house. You know, like what more could people want?
I mean, you know, don't mind the constant abuse, traumatization.
Well, there was no abuse.
Raping.
I was told nothing about any abuse or raping.
No, nobody was.
That's nonsense. I don't even know where you're getting that stuff from because that was not a thing. That's not in the history book I was reading out of.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying is like I didn't learn about anything like any race riots or any people being mistreated until I got to one of them fancy liberal arts colleges. You know, and that's right. when my worldview went all to shit.
So I would like to point out that maybe if high schools were teaching this information, then we would not be dealing with the asshattery that we are currently dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you went ahead and wrapped your mind around the fact that everything wasn't peachy keen for everybody who wasn't white, it wouldn't be such a fucking mind fuck when you're 40-something years old.
Yeah, and you're
right?
like, what?
What? This is the first time hearing about it.
God, we suck, man. We suck. All right. Okay. We are officially, I think we are done. We're going to go.
I guess that's the end of the show.
We're going to go eat some Bill Has a Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really pizza. That's
it
not
really
misinformation.
Is. Yeah. Well, I mean, says you. I don't know.
Well, you'll find out in a minute. Do you not believe in pizza? I believe in pizza. I totally believe in pizza. All right.
Know, it's just bread with stuff on it.
It is. And it's fucking delicious is what that shit is. All right. I meant to look it up, but I don't remember at all what next week's episode is. So
I don't know. It'll be a surprise to us and you both.
To everybody. So, Bill, why don't you take us away?
Sure thing. Bill Has Opinions is engineered and produced by Bill Perkins. I mean, since we're doing misinformation, why not, right? I mean, I don't know. No, seriously.
You do all the work.
It's really her. I don't do it. I don't do nothing but show up and drink. And anyway, the opinions he has are pretty much universally accepted, I would say.
Clearly.
I mean,
everybody loves it.
You guys are tuning in, so you must agree with this shit. Anyhow, be sure to like and subscribe. I mean, you already did all this on Facebook and also on the YouTube and follow us and hashtag the thing, the opinion gang, because you're all the opinion gang. We all know you are. And tune in next week like you will, because we know you will. So we'll see you.
We know because you're the reason we are the top rated show on YouTube.
Absolutely, like that's the whole thing.
We have all the followers.
I want to thank all of you for our huge success and for the International Podcast Award I got last week in the mail.
Yeah. So send us your self-addressed stamped envelopes, and we will send you a portion of our prize money,
or at least a funny postcard or something.
Honestly, that's not even misinformation. If you really did that, we probably would.
I would definitely send you a sticker. I'll get you a sticker. If you send me a Sazy, I'll send you a sticker just because the Sazy is like the most old school shit. I haven't even heard that. Stuff. I brought it up today like as a throwback.
I remember sending him though.
Yeah, I used to send one to Nickelodeon or some shit like that back in the day.
No, I also think it's funny. Like, here's a moment of cultural thing. We referred to them as Sace.
You said Sace
up
north?
Sace. Yeah.
Oh, they're called Sazies.
No, S-A-S-E, Sace.
Sazy.
No, self-addressed stamped envelope, Sace. It's a thing. Look it up, people.
All right.
Look it up. All right, bye, everybody. We'll see you in a week for some sort of episode. We love you all. Goodbye.